at the advisory. Sustained wind, sustained at 180, gusts to 220 miles an hour. Category 5 hurricane. For those of you that follow this sort of thing, the central pressure is down to 905 millibars. That is the strongest or the lowest pressure we have seen with an Atlantic hurricane since the historic 2005 hurricane season. That would be going back to Rita and Wilma, those two storms in 2005. That was also the year that Katrina had a very low pressure as well.
Down on the Gulf Coast, excuse me on the microphone, Tampa down on the Gulf Coast is where we're hearing about more evacuations.
Less than 48 hours from a second major landfalling hurricane on the Gulf Coast of Florida. I'm in downtown Tampa. This is the convention center. You can see that water. It looks 10 to 12 feet down that seawall. Well, in lesser storms, we have seen all of this flood. So that's why all the people that live here are preparing for the approach of what made it to one of the strongest hurricanes on record in the Atlantic Basin.
This morning, the race to get out before explosively powerful Hurricane Milton comes in. Milton, still more than 500 miles southwest of Tampa, now a Category 4 hurricane with winds of 155 miles per hour.
This is the storm of the century.
Mass evacuations ordered, prompting bumper-to-bumper traffic on highways out of town, as the strongest hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico in nearly 2 decades takes aim at the Sunshine State.
Thousands, hundreds of thousands of cars.
Tampa Bay to Sarasota to Venice could see 10 to 15 feet of ocean water pushing onto land, prompting one of the largest evacuations in years.
I'm going to go door to door myself and make the plea over the next 24 hours to get as many people as possible to leave.
5,000 National Guard troops activated. Tropicana Field, where the Tampa Bay Rays play, turned into a staging area for relief workers. Helene left behind so much destruction less than 2 weeks ago.
It's just a little scary to protect your house because it's not just your house, it's all the houses have debris piled up as high as you can see.
Hurricane Milton's strength and magnitude have left veteran meteorologists in shock, including John Morales of Miami. Take a look.
Just an incredible hurricane. It has dropped It has dropped 50 millibars in 10 hours. I apologize. This is just horrific.
Morales has guided South Florida through some of the state's strongest ever hurricanes, including Andrew, Irma, Matthew, and Maria. He later posted on social media, quote, "Extreme weather driven by global warming has changed me. Frankly, you should be shaken too and demand climate action now." Less than 2 weeks ago, officials are warning Milton's impact will be catastrophic. They're urging everyone in the storm's path to leave as soon as they can, and many have taken that message to heart. Florida's highways have been packed since early Monday. The mayor of Tampa issued a stark warning to those daring to stay behind.
Helene was a wake-up call. This is literally catastrophic, and I can say without any dramatization whatsoever, if you choose to stay in one of those evacuation areas, you're going to die.
In a routine that's become all too familiar, Florida residents are preparing, some by filling sandbags, some evacuating, all doing the best they can to prepare for yet another life-threatening storm. FEMA with a firm warning to those with evacuation orders.
They need to get out.
Some heeding the message. Florida highways were crammed Monday with what state officials expect could be the largest evacuation since 2017's Hurricane Irma. Milton threatened storm surge, rain, and flash flooding. But due to Hurricane Helene's devastation, there's another threat, the potential for flying debris.
We still have significant amount of debris, clean
do across the barrier islands to make sure that that doesn't become projectiles in this coming hurricane?
Well, I can just put out facts. I cannot fight delusions. I can't fight that sort of insanity. But I mean, just for example, to get a feeling for the scope of what that claim means. For example, Katrina, the power of Katrina was about the same as 3 million Hiroshima atomic bombs worth of energy, right, and worth of destruction.
We are tracking Hurricane Milton. It is churning off the Florida Gulf Coast, and its storm path is headed toward the west coast of Florida, where it will likely bring life-threatening storm surge as well as heavy rain and strong winds. Milton is currently a Category 4 storm, and it did pick up a lot of strength recently. We want to now cross to our CBS News correspondent, Christian Benavides. He's tracking everything from St. Petersburg in Florida, and this is a place still, as you've been reporting, Christian, recovering from Helene. But how serious is the situation now?
Errol, at this point, you can just take a look at what this area looks like. We're in St. Pete Beach. This is a barrier island community. There are still folks here, as you can see. We spoke to a woman here, Suzanne, who is currently evacuating. She mentioned to me, she walked me through her experience. She rode out Helene, and she said she almost died. And this time she is evacuating for Milton, because all this damage that you see around me from Helene was caused by 5 feet of storm surge. Currently, what the forecast is showing is upwards of 15 feet of storm surge here. That's something that this area hasn't seen in modern history. And what officials are also worried about are these piles of debris, you know, from this small pile to entire homes. Officials are concerned that when Milton makes landfall, all of this debris could get picked up because of the wind and become dangerous projectiles, that they could also block storm drain.
It's incredible how much it intensified yesterday, Errol. It went from a Category 1 early yesterday morning to a Category 5 yesterday around midday. Those tropical storm force winds are expected to arrive by sundown tomorrow. So you've got about 24 hours or so to hurry to get your preparations in order before the conditions really begin to deteriorate. And then, of course, inland, there's going to be a flood concern as well, Errol. Some places could pick up over a foot of rainfall, generally north of the center of the track. More on Milton coming up in just a bit.
We also want to mention that multiple airports are set to close because of this hurricane.
500 miles wide. This isn't as big right now, but it will expand. It may double in size by the time it does eventually reach the Florida coastline.
And west side start to increase and bubble up again. I think, again, that's a sign the eye has reformed, it's re-strengthened, and now the eye wall around the eye is getting some pretty nasty, thunderstorm development around it. Just a remarkable sort of thing to watch. This visible satellite imagery will, you could watch it all the way through and just continue to watch the eye wall sort of having a mind of its own.
Yeah, someone posted yesterday on our YouTube page that they enjoyed us talking about this visible satellite because it was almost like meteorologists on HGTV talking about the textures. Yeah. So yes, we enjoy textures as well. This is the latest, the stats on Hurricane Milton. On the 11 o'clock advisory from the National Hurricane Center, did keep the wind at 150 miles per hour. The pressure fairly steady at the moment, 929, and it is moving to the northeast at 9 miles per hour, just to the north there of Cancun, and you see Mexico. It's not expected to make any sort of landfall before it makes landfall heading towards Florida.
Yeah, and again, so hurricane hunters, these folks, heroes have been flying in and out of this thing now repeatedly for the last couple of days, and we just got, so when we get these advisories, like we did at 11 o'clock with the latest pressure, the latest winds, this is basically where we're getting it from. These folks, carving in and out of the storm, and, the latest surface pressure, 925.
So, as you said, perhaps strengthening as they continue to fly in. They drop dropsondes, which are basically little instrument packs that go from the plane down into the ocean and report back what those instrument packs have measured. We've also recently started dropping drones into these hurricanes to hopefully get some additional data. But the National Hurricane Center and the NOAA Hurricane Hunters, they actually tweeted a video inside the flight station. This is what they saw aboard Miss Piggy. That's the plane that they fly into Hurricane Milton. Definitely some heavy turbulence. I can't imagine some of the turbulence. And let's just listen if we could. Yep, a little bump there.
They look so calm.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would be as calm if I was in the pilot's
Be hanging on to something.
But they also, when they fly at night, a sign of strengthening is the amount of lightning that they saw, and they were able to see quite a bit of lightning from the pilot's seat. Check out what they saw overnight. You see all those flashes of lightning. I can't imagine all the bumps and then just illuminated with lightning.
Something
right?
straight out of a horror movie, frankly.
Yes.
But this is sort of like it's their job. It's their everyday, this is what they do.
Yep.
And if you talk to them, and we have several times, it's sort of like second nature for them. They don't, they hop in, they know they're going into the belly of the beast, and, they're ready for anything that goes down in there.
If they're watching this, call me. I want to go. I want to fly.
Yeah, I think you would be great in there.
I don't know if I'd be great. I would be willing to try.
I would love to see you from here. I watch you from afar.
Okay, and good to know. And I think we have one more video that they filmed aboard Miss Piggy. This is the eye from Milton as viewed from the flight deck. And I talked about this yesterday. This is sort of the stadium effect. Notice how there's sort of the bowl. Think about like walking on Gillette Stadium, right? You're walking from under the stands onto the field. You have the stands all around you. That is what the eye sort of looks like. And this, I think, probably was during maybe the start or end of one of the eye wall replacement cycles, because you really don't see the blue skies above. Normally, in a very strong eye, you would see the blue skies, the sunshine above, but you see just incredible stuff. I can't imagine flying there with the hurricane.
Would you call that a bucket list item for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's put it on the bucket list.
All right, yeah. It is on the bucket list, for sure.
Getting back to just some of the parameters,
We want to get you an up-close look at Hurricane Milton. This is powerful video coming from hurricane hunters who flew into the storm. It is impressive footage, and it gives you a glimpse at what is headed for this community. Let's watch.
We did just get the new update, the 2 p.m. in from the National Hurricane Center. So let's check in with Fox Weather's hurricane specialist, Brian Norcross. Brian, that pressure is dropping again, down to 923. The winds are back up. This is knocking on the door of becoming a Cat 5 once again. It did go through that eye wall replacement last night, but it did so in a super efficient way.
Yeah, and it looked like it was going to do it again today, and it may still. The eye is bigger than it was at its maximum intensity. The bigger the eye in general, the less intense the storm is in terms of the max. But looking at it now, I wouldn't be surprised if it's not a Cat 5 again right now. We don't have a hurricane hunter in there at this moment, but they're going to be heading out and checking this out before the 5 o'clock Eastern Time advisory, so we'll get the update then. But look at it. It looks back to that pristine, perfectly round, symmetric storm with a round eye. As we say, it's very rare that things are round in Mother Nature, exactly round, and when they are, they're usually super intense, like a tornado. So we'll see when the hurricane hunters get out there. But as of 2 p.m., 155 is the estimated peak winds, pressure going back down to 923 millibars. It's in that very pristine piece of atmosphere over very warm water, so no reason to think that it's not going to continue to be extraordinarily strong for a while. There's the way the track went during that eye wall replacement cycle. It's kind of internal process within the storm. Think of it as a top that gets flicked or something, and then it wobbles like that, and then it goes about getting itself straightened out. Well, that's what's happened here. Now we can see, look, we can look right down all the way to the surface of the Gulf there. This is a very, very well-developed hurricane, and it's back on this path. Now, the question, one of the big questions from this set of circumstances that we've seen here today is this kind of dawdling here and slowing down going to affect the landfall time? I think there's a chance that it will. We were talking about in the evening tomorrow. Then we've been talking about after midnight. Now we might have to push that a little bit later. We'll see how this all developed once all this new information gets in the computer forecast. All right, so here's the timing right now and the forecast. So Hurricane Center saying that by this evening, 150 mile an hour category 4 hurricane, but we see it on 155, we see it getting very well developed. But we'll see. The idea is that over this part of the Gulf here, where the conditions are extremely conducive, based on everything we know, to having a very strong hurricane or strengthening. Could go up to 160 or 165, then could go back down as that internal process system happens with the eye walls and so forth. And every time it does that, it makes the system bigger. So
if it were to be a Category 5, it would be called probably 160 is usually what they go with. It's a hair away at this point. I mean, it's like that the category at this point, who cares? It's going to expand in size. Winds are going to come down slightly, but it's going to be a highly impactful storm.
Florida is once again bracing itself for a storm of devastating power. As Hurricane Milton bears down on the state, it brings 155-mile-an-hour winds, heavy rain, and a life-threatening storm surge. The National Hurricane Center has warned it poses an extremely serious threat, and an emergency has been declared in more than 50 counties. President Biden has approved disaster funding and said Milton could be one of the worst storms to hit Florida in 100 years.
You should evacuate now. You should have already evacuated. It's a matter of life and death, and that's not hyperbole. It's a matter of life and death.
And the state authorities are using stark language too. No matter how experienced Floridians are with hurricanes, this remains a frightening storm coming at the worst possible moment.
Well, you made it to the end of the video. Might be thinking to yourself, I should go find something else to watch. But before you hastily go off and do such a thing, I really recommend you subscribe to this channel. And don't forget that little bell icon as well. Otherwise, you will never know when all the galactic news is happening.